we go, Don. Let's try and pair program our way through this unique problem. What are we trying to solve here today?
So what we're trying to solve here today is within the domain of Sphere, we have two classes of users. We have seekers, which are the clients, and we have guides, which are the coaches.
Okay.
And we want to be able to give guides a link, like a short URL bit.ly style link that they can put on their website, they can talk about, they can give out to people, and the redirector on our side will automatically redirect the user to the end user to the homepage, and we'll be able to tell the attribution of that link because it's going through our redirector.
Okay.
The challenge is we need to be able to slugify the user's name in some way, the guide's name.
Okay.
But of course, if we have Jane Smith and Jane Simmons or something like that, and we try and do Jane S, we've got two Janes, we've got two Jane S's. Jane SA or SM and SI doesn't really look good. So we're trying to come up with a way to make a marketable URL that it doesn't expose user information like the user ID on the table, and is still short and something that the guide would be able to take, some feel like they, that it represents them well.
So you could put it on a business card or a bus stop or whatever you wanted to.
Totally.
And are you hosting the short URL piece of this? And so you have control? Okay, so the first question I have is entropy, right? And the username, but is the username unique as the primary thing? It sounds like no. What you were just describing, the username may not be unique. You still with me? Uh-oh. Pair programming fail. All right, well, I'm going to... Oh, there you are, Doug. Or Don, I got you back now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Internet blinked, I guess.
Yeah.
We don't have usernames for them. We do have first and last name.
Oh, that makes it tricky. And you don't want to expose things like email.
Yeah.
Do you have unique identifiers in the database, like numbers or something? That's not.
Yeah, we've got integer primary keys.
You can't
and
introduce
that's what we're doing right
either.
now. Yeah, not really. Yeah, we're using the IDs on the website, and that's less than ideal. But ultimately, what we're going to do with the redirector is if I had the domain we're using is sphere.coach. So if I had sphere.coach/donb, it could turn around and redirect to sphere.guide/profile/myid and then stick a bunch of UTM codes on the end of it so that we would know that, the source of that traffic coming into the site was from me.
And it has to be automatically generated. You can't, this is not something where you could say, hey users, you're going to be assigned this unique user ID and here's how you could change it if you wanted to.
Did it blink again?
Yeah, it blinked again. It's every time I ask a
man.
question. Let me ask one more time. So, would you be able to just assign usernames and have users update them for vanity?
We can just assign them. The ideal is when a guide finishes going through the onboarding process and we actually approve them to go live on the site. Then we could generate it at that point. We could possibly do it in collaboration with them, but that's when their URL would get fixed.
Got it. So you could do a generated URL initially. That is a combination of their unique identifier in the database and some part of their username, not as marketable. But then there's sort of this reserve your unique vanity URL where you're essentially setting a username for any user who chooses to set it, kind of, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. So the question is, what's the best one to use by default?
Well, the question is, really, how do we handle duplicates? If we're trying to keep the user ID out of it, how do we handle duplicates where we've got people with same first name, same last initial? What's the right way to handle that? And ideally, in a perfect, beautiful world where everything just works and everybody has a unique name, we'd be able to have like sphere.coach/meet-don-b or meet Don or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I think the problem is going to be runtime resolution versus pre-computed sort of migration of this, right? So if there's a viable approach to run through and iterate through the database, then you can ensure uniqueness because the first user gets first name, first character of last name, second user gets first name, second. It's kind of like how we assign emails in the enterprise.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Is that a possible approach?
It is a possible approach, but then we're running into the edge case that we then have to consider is what happens when the third person with that same first name, same spelling, and same last initial
or only two letters in their last initial. Because I was thinking you'd add in a letter in their last name every time you see one, but then you may run out of characters for people with short last names.
Well, on top of that, like we don't want to do like the Don B2 because then that's saying that I'm not the first one or the best one or something like that. And so I'm trying to think through a strategy. Oh, one of the other requirements that we have is that we are, for privacy purposes, obscuring the guide's last name. We'll give a first initial of their last name,
right?
But we're trying to prevent that last name from being outed on our site.
Yeah. Would it be less abrasive if there was sort of a URL directory stem? So kind of like YouTube, they throw that /v in there. And that could add some unique entropy that is not abrasive in the form of like a 1 or a 2, or maybe you're adding it at the end. I guess that's still the same thing of whether it's a dash or not. You're just kind of moving characters from one to another. This is a challenging one, man.
Oh, we blinked again.
Yeah.
Man.
It's a hard one. I don't know. Here's what we should do. We should pop off Zoom, and I'll bring up the quick Slack chat here. Are you there?
A couple of words that we could throw in there so that we're almost name spacing the the different first name last letter combinations.
Is there any locations or industry or categories that are part of the spec or part of their classification? It's quite limiting. Well, I'm not sure that this live stream is going to work, but let's see where Don's at. You still there?
I'm here.
Okay, we'll work through it.
Yep.
Categories or industries?
So it's categories, like what category their coaching practice falls into. But if we had, say, sphere.coach/tech/Don B, we're now losing the short URL kind of flavor.
Yeah. I kind of feel like you have this problem where you kind of have to bite the bullet and assign a temporary username somehow. And then
I mean, the slug is a unique... Yeah, the slug is kind of a unique identifier. So it's almost like a username, but the only context we would ever use it in is this short URL.
Yeah, but my point is, whether it's a username or a slug, I guess the hard, unfortunate truth is no matter what entropy it seems you use, there could be a conflict. So what I would tend to do would be to run a migration, create some sort of unique identifier for a slug, but then let them come, first serve, overwrite it for a new one.
Yeah. The challenge we're going to have there, which I see coming up, is going to be if I come onto the platform, let's say, now over a year after Sphere's launched, let's say there's another Don on the, on the.
Sorry, I missed that last piece. If there's another Don on the platform?
Yeah, so if there's another Don on the platform, they've probably already claimed sphere.coach/Don. And so, yeah, I can then do Don B, but then if the third Don comes in, they're like, oh, well, you can't have Don, and you're Don, Baker, and you can't have Don B.
But isn't that kind of like it works on Twitter or anywhere else? It's like kind of first come, first serve, right?
It is, but because we're providing a business marketplace, we're
Mm-hmm.
trying to give people like that best representation of their practice.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it's too much effort to have them create a unique domain themselves, right? I mean, that's where
Right.
or point is something. Yeah, that's a tricky one. I would definitely. I think it's going to be hard to give everybody what they want. You know what they say: you can please some of the people some of the time, right?
Right. Um, yeah, I mean, the other thing is, now that I think about it, the likelihood that we're going to have 4 people with the exact same spelling of first name and same last initial is pretty remote. So if I had meet dash Don B, um, coach dash Don B, then I could have meet dash Don B, coach dash Don B,
Well,
and
that's
be able to get,
interesting. You could come up with a
yeah,
letter of pre-reserved kind of verbiages, which wouldn't necessarily
right,
stop the idea of conflict over a long period of time if you have infinite scale, but at least would add layers of. I mean, even Git hashes,
yeah,
honestly, are or like Mongo database or GUIDs just generally, right? Like they're not completely unique if you have enough of them.
right, exactly.
Hmm.
So yeah, if I can come up with some short marketable word set there, it's almost like I can then namespace the combination.
I like that solution a lot. Yeah. I'd go with that one, and but I would still do sort of use it in a migration type format where when you hit layers of entropy, the first thing I would do is I'd run a database call to try to understand how many of these conflicts you're going to see now, because if you
29
can
right now.
29, and
Yeah,
how many users actually have like more than one or multiple people are sharing the same name.
the worst we have is there's one set of 4 people,
Same first name and same last name, or
same first name, same last initial.
okay, got it. Right, and so for them, so then if you basically go through and you migrate it all proactively, and you go, okay, now everybody has a unique URL, and then you open up the opportunity in their settings to customize it however they want, and for new users, you have them set a unique identifier, then you'd avoid any kind of conflicts in the future, and people would either have to, there'd be 29 people who might get a slightly suboptimal URL initially, but they'd have the ability to update it.
There.
That's like a multi-step process. You got to migrate. You got to first run a migration, set all the new ones, let them update their profile, and deal with new users from a unique standpoint as well.
Yeah, I mean, the nice part is it's front-loaded work, and it puts a little bit of stress on our CX person, our customer support person to begin with, but then going forward, it's only on an on-demand basis at the point where we're approving them to go on the platform.
I like that. That's definitely the solution I would use.
Cool. Man, thanks.
Yeah!
Talk that through and bounce the...
It's a brain teaser for sure, man. So, yeah. Well, I'll figure out what's going on with my Zoom connection as well, too, here. I think it might also be on my end. I can see OBS is at 400% CPU right now, so I gotta fix that. Maybe I need to reboot my computer. All right, man. We'll catch you later. Thanks for jumping on.
Sweet.
Good luck.
Thanks
Let me know how it
so much,
goes. Bye.
Will do. Bye.